Did I what? Post something? Nothing. Not yet. I've corrected a couple of mistakes, pointed some things out that need to be clear, but. Hot mic.
Yeah,
I know.
Sounds like it's pretty sensitive.
But it's coming. All right. Good afternoon. Welcome to the January 15th Metropolitan Area Planning Commission. I am Chairperson Brian Fry. Thank you all for being here. Normally I like to start off with a little levity, but today I want to take this moment to honor and recognize a former colleague of ours who passed away tragically in December, Josh Blick. He served on MAPC 2 different times. Can't remember how many years, but several. And he was a close personal friend, and so I just ask that everyone remember his family during this time. They would appreciate a word of support, so thank you. With that, opening announcements. Mr. Wadle?
Yes, sir. I think we'll get those up in just a moment.
Before we begin the agenda, the Wichita-Sedgwick County Metropolitan Area Planning Commission and the Wichita-Sedgwick County Board of Zoning Appeals would like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this public hearing. For those in attendance, copies of the agenda for today's meeting, the public hearing procedure, and planning department staff reports on all agenda items are available in the lobby. The Planning Commission's and the BZA's bylaws limit the applicant on a zoning, subdivision, or variance application and his or her representatives to a total of 10 minutes of speaking time at the start of the hearing on that item, plus up to 2 minutes at the conclusion of that hearing. All other persons wishing to speak on agenda items are limited to 3 minutes per person. However, if they feel that it is needed and justified, the chairman may extend these times by up to 2 minutes. All speakers are requested to state his or her name and address for the record when beginning to speak. When you are finished speaking, please share your name, address, and the case number on the sheet provided in the room. This will enable staff to notify you if there are any additional proceedings concerning that item. All speakers at the podium, please remove your face mask before speaking into the microphone. Please note that all written and visual materials you present to the Commission and the Board will be retained by the Secretary as part of the official record. If you are not speaking, but you wish to be notified about future proceedings on a particular case, please provide your contact information to the Planning Department. The Planning Commission and the Board are interested in hearing the views of all persons who wish to express themselves on all the agenda items. However, we ask that all speakers please be as courteous and concise as possible and avoid long repetitions of facts or opinions which have already been stated. For your information, the Wichita City Council has adopted a policy for all city zoning items. A copy of this policy is available from the planning staff. The City Council relies on a written record of the Planning Commission hearings and does not conduct its own additional public hearings on these items. The decision of the BZA is final. Any appeal of a decision of the BZA is to the district court.
All right, next item on the agenda is roll call.
Yes, sir. Fry.
Present.
Mater. McKay. Dool. Bill Johnson.
Present.
Hi. Klontz. Warren. Joe Johnson is absent. Miles. Zimbelman. Aldrich. Williams Bay. Sir, I showed 12 members are present, 1 is absent, and 1 position is vacant.
Thank you, sir. Next item is 1.3, approval of the MAPC meeting minutes from December 4th. I show that Commissioners McKay, Warren, Joe Johnson, and Nix were absent.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Mr. Williams Bay and a second by Ms. Miles. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, 1.4, approval of the MAPC meeting minutes from December 18th. I show that Commissioner Williams Bay was absent. A motion to approve by Commissioner Miles with a second by Commissioner McKay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Item 1.5, we will now determine which of the MAPC agenda items we can approve on consent, starting with the subdivision recommendations. Item 2.1, subdivision 2025-64 has been deferred to January 29th, so we will not be hearing that case today. Item 2.2, subdivision 2025-70, which is a one-step final plat for the Ballman 6th Edition. This is roughly Mays Road and West 31st Street South. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll move item 2.2 to consent. Item 2.3, subdivision 2025-71 has been deferred also to January 29th, so we will not hear that case today. Item 2.4, subdivision 2025-72, a one-step final plat for the 44th Park Edition, which is roughly North Webb Road and East 45th Street North. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll move item 2.4 to consent. I move that we approve items 2.2 and 2.4 as consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Commissioner Warren. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. For the vacation items, item 3.1, vacation 2025-56. This is a vacation for a street right-of-way, roughly 16th Street North and North Meridian Avenue. That has been deferred to March 12th, so we will not hear that case today. Item 3.2, vacation 2025-57. This is a vacation for a platted setback, approximately East Christie Place and North Oliver Avenue. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll move item 3.2 to consent. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Warren with the second by Commissioner Miles. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. For the public hearing items, item 4.1, conditional 2025-157 for short-term rental in an SF5 district, roughly 14th Street North and North Woodlawn Avenue. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? I see your hand raised, sir. Is the applicant or agent present? Thank you. We will hear item 4.1. Item 4.2, conditional 2025-170. This is for multifamily development in a TF3 district, approximately East Central Avenue and North Oliver Avenue. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? I'm not seeing any. Do we have one in the back there? Okay. Is the applicant or agent present for this case? Is that the same person that raised their hand? Huh? They're next to each other? Okay, they're back in that corner I can't see. So we will hear item 4.2. Item 4.3, conditional use 2025-171 for an accessory apartment in an RR district. This is approximately South 247th Street West and West 31st Street South. Wait, can we get any more directional addresses? Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we will move item 4.3 to consent. Item 4.4 is a CUP 2025-42. That has been deferred to January 29th, so we will not hear that case. Item 4.5 is a PUD 2025-28. Zone change request from TF3 to PUD, approximately North Webb Road and East 45th Street North. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll move item 4.5 to consent. Item 4.6, Zone 2025-61, zone change request in this city from SF5 to LC, approximately West 51st Street North and North Meridian. Staff is recommending denial, so we will hear this case. Is the applicant or agent present? Thank you. So we will hear item 4.6. Item 4.7, Zone 2025-65 from an SF5 to TF3 at approximately South St. Clair Avenue and West Maple Street. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? I see a hand in the back. Is the applicant or agent present for this case? I'm not seeing. We'll have time to maybe reach out to them. So at this point, we will move item 4.7 to consent.
We're hearing.
Or to hearing, I'm sorry. I'm not using my regular pen, so I'll blame that. Item 4.8, Zone 2025-66, zone change request in the county from SF20 to RR. This is approximately West MacArthur Road and Southwest Street. Are there any members from the commission who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, are there any members from the public who would like to hear this case? Seeing none, we'll move item 4.8 to consent. Item 4.9 is DER 2024-10. This is zoning code amendment pertaining to the event center, so we will hear this case. And that's all I have on public hearing. So, need a motion to approve the consent items.
Move to approve agenda items 4.3 and 4.5 and 4.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Miles with a second by Commissioner Williams-Bay to approve consent items. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. And let the record reflect that Commissioner Joe Johnson has arrived. Who? Oh, gotcha. All right, so we're ready for our first case. Pardon? Oh, item 4.3. Philip?
Item 4.1.
4.1. Man, I should
Someone needs to
my
get your new
regular
pen.
pen back.
Good afternoon, Philip Zievenbergen with planning staff. Presenting conditional use 2025-157. It is a conditional use request to allow a short-term rental on property zoned single-family residential, I should say a non-owner occupied short-term rental on property zoned SF5 located at 6845 East 14th Street North. The whole first page of your staff report discusses kind of the history of where City Council was and ultimately approving the ordinance that is now regulating short-term rentals, which began in September of 2023. At the bottom of your first page of your staff report discusses the administrative permit process that this application has gone through. And the reason we're here today is the result of the administrative permit had over a 50% protest by the eligible properties, which means the administrative permit process was denied. The applicant elected to continue on with a conditional use, provided a revised ownership list for a 200-foot radius, and we notified it per the conditional use standards, and we are here today. This is a separate process from the administrative permit process. The protests that were part of the administrative permit process don't move forward, and so any property owners surrounding this property who wish to essentially continue to protest would have to do so with the protest period coming up following today's meeting. Overall, as a residential area, a non-owner occupied short-term rental is not allowed in SF5 without a administrative permit, so essentially the zoning to do it, or in this case, the conditional use because the administrative permit was denied. If it were to be approved, they also have to obtain a license. If the property was owner occupied, which means that they would be present on the property, residing there every single time that it is rented out, then the zoning action for a short-term rental is not required and they would only have to get a permit. My understanding is that at this time they are not residing at the location and would like to continue using it as a short-term rental. It is also my understanding that it has been used and operating as a short-term rental for some time. The surrounding properties are zoned single-family residential with single-family dwellings. There are no other zoning cases associated with the site, and the site is platted. Property has access to East 14th and North Stratford Lane, both are local streets with no sidewalks. It is currently served by water and sewer, and there is transit nearby within a quarter mile near 13th and Woodlawn. The comprehensive plan identifies the site as appropriate for residential and new residential. Essentially, both of them describe that the property could be developed or redeveloped by 2035 with residential uses or possibly new residential uses. Obviously, it's currently developed as a single-family home in a predominantly single-family neighborhood. We find that this is in conformance with compatibility standards, which encourages infill development that maximizes public investment in the existing and planned infrastructure and services. It is within the established central area, and so the Places for People plan also governs the site. Strategy number 5 encourages infill development that is contextual to the environment. Essentially, the way in which the city has managed with short-term rentals, they are deemed essentially as residential uses at this time, and so we find it's conformance to the comprehensive plan. Essentially, the comprehensive plan doesn't have very specific information regarding a short-term rental because they were not in existence when the comprehensive plan was created. Overall, staff is recommending approval, subject to the conditions in the staff report. In general, they have to receive a short-term rental license. It would be developed in accordance with an approved site plan. It has to be operated in compliance with all federal, state, and local regulations. And then if there's any violation of it, it would go through the enforcement effort and they could possibly have a conditional use revoked. This has received some public comment. There is an email on your desk that we received through the conditional use process. Of course, there was the public comment we received during the administrative permit process, which caused it to become a conditional use in the first place. This went to the District Advisory Board for District 2 last night. There was one member of the public who spoke in opposition to it, and I believe that gentleman is here today to speak to you all. He was the gentleman who stood up. And the result of the DAB was a no recommendation. A recommendation for denial was tied 3-3. And so that's where it landed. The discussion at the DAB was essentially a split between needing to allow these uses in neighborhoods, private property rights versus seeing these as commercial uses and having a business being opened up in a neighborhood. That was kind of the split vote sentiment from the DAB members at District 2 last night. With that, we can go through site pictures if you want to move to those. This is looking at the subject site that the short-term rental is in. Next picture. This is looking south at the property to the west of the site. Next picture. Looking north away from the site. Next picture. And looking, this is actually east away from the site. The eyeball and the arrow are looking the wrong way. I apologize. But this is looking across Stratford Lane on properties on the east side of Stratford Lane. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Philip, do you have a map that would show where the protest petition residences are?
Sure. I don't have it in here, but I can point it out. So, Mohammed, if you go to the aerial map, please.
They have to be adjacent, correct?
Adjacent or abutting. And I'll discuss that here. Okay. So we received them from this property here. This one was actually invalid. If you extend this property line this way, it doesn't actually intersect with this property, so it's technically not considered across the street. That was the only reason it was invalid. It was this property, I believe it was this property and this property. So there was 4 out of the 6 properties, eligible properties that protested the application.
Okay, thank you. Any, Commissioner Aldrich?
Yeah, touching base again on the protest, that's pretty much everybody that surrounds it except for maybe one property out there. So how much of a voice does the neighborhood have when they are protesting this, besides making the permit process not an automatic, where it's got to come to the board? But they should still weigh in considerably, I think, their opposition to.
Sure, and that's been
having this.
communicated to the neighbors that we're now in a new process and they would need to continue to be involved. They got a new notification letter about the conditional use advertising today's public hearing. I've been in communication with at least a couple of neighbors explaining that there's an additional protest period coming up and that they would have to submit additional protests if they were to essentially continue to protest this application.
And do you know how long they've been non-conforming?
I don't know. I can defer to the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Thank you, Philip. We'll now ask the applicant and/or agent to come forward to present your case. You'll have up to 2 minutes, and please give us your name and address, or 10 minutes. And please give us your name and address for the record.
Hi there. My name's Eric Topham. The address is 6845 East 14th Street North. So I just want to clarify a couple things on the findings on point 4. This has not been operated as a short-term rental or any sort of rental. My husband at the time has been living there for the entire 2 years. I've owned the house for 2 years. I invested $100,000 on a renovation. I've spent $100,000 owning the home for the last 2 years. So with that said, I've been staying at my other house in East Wichita, and this was never planned to be a short-term rental. I don't have a business of owning. Would be my first Airbnb ever. It was kind of possibly a temporary stopgap until I get relocated. I currently work in Texas until I can return back to Wichita. Let's see here. And on the point, like with the DAB board meeting last night, there are, rules and restrictions of owning and operating a short-term rental. Emily Morgan, Realtor, is the one I've contacted, would hire to be the professional management company for this property. Did not intend it. It will not be like a party house. It won't be anything like that. It would just be basically a short-term rental. I know a lot of the concerns with the neighbors are about potential increased traffic. I don't see it that way. A lot of people are, probably be occupied maybe at most 50% of the time. There's only so many bedrooms. There's like 4 bedrooms. There's only so many people that, there would be restrictions on how many people could stay overnight. There are not cameras currently, but if this was approved, there would be cameras to monitor, the number of inhabitants that would be staying there. And I also do feel like it was brought up at the DAB meeting last night, I do feel like everybody should be given a chance to do this, and if, it became a nuisance or a problem, then, it could be denied or, revoked, the license, so. I have been a good property owner, in my opinion, for the last 2 years. I know there's some other properties, one to my north, that they have a lot of furniture and things on the street, and it's not as well maintained as the other neighborhood. And there's a house to the east that they have junk on their property, like mattresses and junk cars. So I've kept the property in good condition this entire time, and that's all I have to say. Any questions for me?
Thank you for your presentation. Real quick, is there an HOA or a neighborhood association for this
There's
neighborhood?
not an HOA to my knowledge. There probably wasn't an association, but I don't know if it's active or not.
Okay. To your knowledge, that's fine.
Yeah.
We have other questions. Commissioner Aldrich?
Yes, sir. How long have you been operating it as a short-term rental now?
It has not been operated as a short-term rental. It's only been occupied, not by myself. I've spent 3 nights there, Christmas 2024. My husband, who's now my ex-husband, has been living there this entire time.
Okay, so nobody.
There's been no rental activity at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Williams Bay?
Sir, if I understood you correctly, you said that this was, you're going to be occupy this in the near future.
My intention was, I love this home. My intention was to originally move into it with my husband. Soon after we purchased and closer to when the renovations ended, we started talking about divorce. So I do envision myself moving into it at some point in the future, probably very near future, but I don't have a firm time on that.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner High?
Is this Airbnb or Vrbo or none of the above?
It's nothing currently. Then it would be advertised on Airbnb or VRBO. That's something to be determined later.
Because there's restrictions in either one of those that you can restrict
That is correct, to my knowledge. Yeah, I
type
talked
of
about that.
occupancy you're going to have in there.
Correct. There would definitely be a, probably 2 times the number of bedrooms, maximum occupancy for overnight guests. Again, I have not done an Airbnb before, so.
We have one more question, I believe. Commissioner Williams Bay?
So is it presently vacant?
It's not vacant. My ex-husband's staying there until he moves out sometime in the near future.
Okay. I don't believe we have any more questions from this body.
Okay.
So thank you. Stand by because there will be an opportunity for rebuttal. So just
Okay.
grab a seat and stand by. This is now when we have public comment on this. If you'd like to address the council, please go to the commission. Sorry, old habits. Please go to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Grant Goodvin, 1480 North Stratford, Wichita, Kansas. We're that home right there on this side at the bottom, right there.
Can you use the mouse on the computer there to point it out?
Okay, can you see
So we're,
that?
yeah, we're
Right
facing.
there, that's
Thank
us.
you.
Right there, they have a swimming pool, and we look across the street into that. I've read the documents that went back to April 2022 into 2023 as the city was trying to figure out how to approach this issue of short-term rentals and some of the things that had happened in the past. And there were a variety, all the comments I read, there was just a variety of comments that indicated a real divergence of opinion about how to deal with this. So I can understand that. We did have the properties issue protest. One of them was not allowed because it was received late. It was mailed the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and I think the deadline was sometime that first day or whatever after Thanksgiving, and they received it late. and then the one was invalid because the title company had not done it correctly. Our neighborhood has two streets. This is Stratford Lane along here, and this is 14th. These are not through streets. The only people that come down these streets are people who live in the area, friends of people who live in the area. They're lost, trying to figure out how to get to another through street, or they should not be there. In our opinion, in my opinion, it's a very controlled type of traffic, and I'm very cautious if I see cars parked or people coming through that I don't recognize. We're making a note of those vehicles because they're typically not, they're either lost or they're just not supposed to be there. We have two families with young children that live here and across the street. They play outside. We're concerned about the increased traffic. We're concerned about the increased number of people who are coming in and leaving. Therefore, they're not part of the neighborhood. We're concerned about the safety of our children. My wife and I walk our dog most afternoons. We know many of the people that live in this area. This is a residential area that is well-known in terms of people knowing what's going on in our lives and how we're handling the different things in our neighborhood.
Mr. Goodvin?
Yes,
Your time is allotted. Can you
okay,
wrap up with a short 1 or 2 sentence?
all right. The comment at the DAB was about freedom to use property rights. And I agree with that, except all of us have property rights, and this residential neighborhood is going to be compromised in our sense because you're going to place a business smack dab in the middle of it. And that's going to cause a problem. So
Thank
I
you.
urge the MAPC to deny it.
Mr. Goodvin, how long have you lived there?
Over 40 years, I've lived in Wichita for 65.
To your knowledge, is there an active HOA or neighborhood association in
No.
your neighborhood?
No.
There is not. Okay, thank you. Any other commissioners have a question for Mr. Goodvin? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next speaker? Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the applicant. Mr. Topham, do you want to rebut? Do you want to have any comments to Mr. Goodvin's testimony? You'll have up to 2 minutes. And please keep it to his comments.
Sure, yeah. I know the concern about the increased traffic, but I don't anticipate more than 3 or 4 extra vehicles increased traffic. I don't see that as being a significant risk to children. So that's all I have to say.
Any questions for the applicant? Mr. McKay, Commissioner McKay.
Sir, you call this going to the B zoning or whatever regulation. Why didn't you just rent the house out?
Why do I not do a long-term rental?
Yes.
Ultimately, that wouldn't be financially viable. And I plan to move into it probably in the near future, within 12 to 24 months.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. Commissioner Aldrich?
Yeah, a couple things that I've got concerns on, obviously, with the staff is making recommendations on, one of the, actually a couple of them says where if the condition, is approved, this might, or may see higher volumes in automobile and pedestrian traffic. And also, staff is also acknowledging that, if this is approved, which it may be detrimental to the impact and the welfare of nearby properties with possible increase in automobile and pedestrian traffic and noise. You know, if you're going to come up with reasons that it could be harmful to the area, I don't understand how you can also recommend approval at the same time. Yeah, and I concur with Commissioner McKay that, to me, it would make more sense just to do a longer term rental, for a year or whatever until the property decide what he wants to do. But I just don't think that a short term rental would be appropriate for this area.
Commissioner Warren.
If traffic is the main concern, I'm not sure that a long-term rental might not bring more traffic to the area. We have a family with multiple cars versus quite often it's going to be one vehicle that's going to be using the property from that standpoint. So I think from a traffic standpoint, a short-term rental, plus there's going to be many nights when the property is not rented at all, so you got zero traffic from that standpoint. So we've put down some rules that regulate this citywide, and if we find properties that meet those rules, but then one or two or three residents in the area don't want them, nobody's going to want them, then we're not going to have any at all. And I think there's a market for it. And from an owner-occupied situation with somebody who's going to be doing that, this one I think would qualify as a good candidate for a short-term rental. So I'll be in support.
Commissioner Mader.
Just a slight bit of discussion on this. We do have rules that put forth by the city on how to approve these or not approve them, and by protest to the neighbors is where we're following, is how it gotten here, how it came to us. Anytime that we have an Airbnb request or short-term rental request that had majority opposition, I'm going to have to vote no, just because I think the neighbors have rights too.
Yeah. I'm gonna speak to that real quick. During my time on council is when we put this policy in place, and that was one of the important factors for me, was being able to have a protest opportunity for the adjacent neighbors so that they could have some say in it as well. I am a staunch supporter of property rights, but I think that neighborhood, with absence of an HOA or neighborhood association, this is their best recourse to be able to protest it. And so having 57%, I think, is substantial. And so with that, any other comments? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to deny the application due to the protest period or the amount of protests received. We have a second by Commissioner Mader. Any other discussion? Seeing none, call for a vote. All in favor of the denial, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, we'll have to take a voice roll call vote. Again, this is a motion to deny, to say aye.
Yes, sir. Fry.
Aye.
Mader. Aye. McKay. Dool.
Aye.
Bill Johnson.
Sir? Bill?
Bill Johnson.
No.
Hi. Klontz.
No.
Warren.
No.
Joe Johnson.
Aye.
Miles. Zimbelman.
No.
Aldrich.
Aye.
Williams Bay.
No.
I show 5 in favor, 8 opposed. Motion fails.
So, Commissioner Warren,
I would move to approve per staff comments and recommendations.
we have a motion to approve by Warren with a second by Commissioner Miles. We'll do a voice vote or a roll call vote again. And again, if you approve of the motion to approve the request, say aye.
Fry.
Nay.
Mader.
Nay.
McKay.
Yes.
Dool.
Nay.
Bill Johnson.
Yes.
Hi. Klontz.
Aye.
Warren.
Aye.
Joe Johnson.
Nay.
Miles.
Aye.
Zimbelman. Aldrich.
Nay.
Williams Bay. Eight, 1, 2, 3, 2, 5. Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Next item, please.
Good afternoon. Brad Etherly, MAPD. We are discussing case con 2025-00170. For this case, the applicant is requesting a conditional use to allow multifamily development on property zone TF3, two-family residential. This is a 0.22 acre property that is located at 4406 East Central Avenue. The subject site is currently developed with a duplex, and the applicant is requesting the conditional use in order to construct a third dwelling unit in the rear of the site. The UZC has sets the density for multifamily development in the TF3 district at 14.5 dwelling units per acre. So at this rate, the subject site would be allowed 3 dwelling units. The required interior side yard setback would be 6. The report says 3. That's a typo, so it would be 6 feet from the west and east property lines. And the UZC allows for half of the width of a dedicated alley to be used as a portion of the required rear setback. The abutting alley to the north is 12 feet in width, which would allow for 6 feet to be used as a portion of that required setback. So the setback from the rear property line would be 4 feet. The applicant's plans shows that the additional dwelling is to be set back 6 feet from the west interior side property line and 22 feet from the rear property line. And it is also shown to be 26 feet from the existing primary building, so it meets all of the setback standards. Compatibility standards would not apply because the subject property is zone TF3, and compatibility standards only apply to uses in MF18 or less restrictive zoning districts. With the request for multifamily residential development, the site would need to comply with the landscaping standards of the Wichita Landscape Code, which would include a landscape buffer along the north and east property lines due to the abutting TF3 zoning, which would require 1 shade tree or 2 ornamental trees per 40 lineal feet. A 6 to 8 foot solid screening fence would need to be maintained along the north and east property lines as well to be in compliance with the screening standards of the UZC. As far as parking goes, parking requirements would include 1 parking space for the single-family dwelling and 1 parking space for each dwelling unit of the duplex for a total of 3. If we can go to the zoning map, the character of the neighborhood is low-density residential with commercial development occurring approximately 1 block to the east. Property to the north is zoned TF3 and is developed with a duplex. Property to the east is zoned TF3 and is developed with a duplex. Property to the south across East Central Avenue is zoned SF5 and is developed with a single-family dwelling. And property to the west is zoned NO, Neighborhood Office, and is developed with a duplex. Multifamily development is located at the northeast corner of East Central Avenue and North Terrace Avenue, about 1 block to the east. As far as case history goes, on April 1st, 1914, the subject site was platted as part of the Overlook Addition, and there have been no other cases associated with this site. The subject site does have access to East Central Avenue, which is a 2-way arterial street with sidewalks on both sides. All utilities serve the site already, and Wichita Transit serves the site at East Central Avenue and North Crestway Avenue, about 100 feet to the west. The requested conditional use is in conformance with the Community Investments Plan. If we can go to the future growth map. The map identifies the site as residential, which is defined as areas that reflect the full diversity of residential development densities and types typically found in a large urban municipality. As far as locational guidelines go, under the heading Development Pattern, Guideline 2A encourages infill development that maximizes public investment in existing and planned infrastructure and services. As far as the Wichita Places for People Plan, the conditional use is in conformance with the goals of that. Strategy 5 suggests to provide a diversity of housing options to attract new residents and allow existing residents to remain in the ECA. And then it also aligns with Strategy 6, which is to encourage infill and redevelopment that is contextual to the environment in which it is occurring. Adding this type of multifamily development to the neighborhood is not out of character and should not adversely affect the area. It is also within the Central Northeast Area Plan, and it is in partial conformance with that on a little bit of a technicality. One priority outlined in the plan includes to protect the neighborhood fabric by ensuring that the rate of new home construction exceeds the housing demolition rate. And a goal of the plan is to promote new home construction on vacant lots. So this would result in the development of a new dwelling unit, but it would not technically be on a vacant lot. If we can go to the site pics. This is looking south into the site from the alleyway. Next picture. This is looking north from Central. Next picture. This is looking north away. This is the garage to the duplex that's to the north. This is looking east away from the site down Central. And this is looking south away across Central. And this is looking west away from the site. So staff does recommend the conditional use be approved, subject to the conditions that are listed in the staff report. We have had one public comment that was received yesterday, and that has been placed in front of you. And this did go to DAB 1 on December 5th and was recommended for approval there. And with that, I can stand for any questions.
Commissioner Aldrich.
Yep, Brett, on North Crestway, there's a conditional use 2024-144. What is that? Do you know?
I do not know, sir. I'm not aware.
My guess would be a short-term rental. If I were to venture a guess based on it being a residential street.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions for Brad? Seeing none, thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. Good job. We'll now ask the owner applicant to come forward and give us your name and address for the record. You'll have up to 10 minutes for your presentation.
Elias Abdullah. Its address is 4406 and 4408 East Central.
Sir, what is your role? Are you the
I'm the partner.
partner
Yep.
to Ariel Nixon?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So do you own the property with?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So we've owned this property for a while. We've already invested well over $150,000 into it. It was a complete disaster, basically a junkyard before we got it. Where we're planning to put this new building, there used to be a garage there that was basically falling over. So we tore it down before anybody got injured from it. It was filled with car parts, everything like that. So we've already done a lot to clean up the property, and this will finalize cleaning up that rear area that's just unused space right now. It'll help us also make more formal parking back there and utilize the space better. That's really the gist of it.
And you live in the front house?
I don't live there, no.
Okay, so you will not live at the residence?
No, it's a rental property for us.
Both properties would be?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And we had received some public comment that there's allegation of a future STR, short-term rental, on the property?
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly?
We're looking more midterm rental with the hospital being nearby.
Gotcha, okay. Any other questions for the speaker? Mr. Williams Bay.
So the property in the front is a single,
It's a duplex.
it's a duplex.
Yes, yep. 2 bed, 1 bath each side. And this third property will be the exact same, 2 bed, 1 bath.
But a single rental, not a.
But a
duplex.
single, yes, yep.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Zimbelman.
Could you take the mouse and show me
Yes,
how
I'll try to here. I've got a bum
the
arm, but.
thing in the back is going to be accessed?
So we have the alley right here, so you can access that way, or there's a drive along this side that goes all the way to the back. So you can access it either way, so we're not blocking up traffic at all with that property. Also, we're setting back far enough from this alleyway, there's plenty of room to park behind the building as well. Like he said earlier, we're 22 foot back from that alley. So we have more than enough room for this.
The access on the side, on the alley,
Uh-huh.
you're not getting on the neighbor's property going through there?
No, not at all.
Okay.
No, that alley is utility access. you can see here where it ends, but we're gonna be 22 foot from that alley on the backside of that property.
No, I'm talking, you said there's an access road between those two houses.
Yes, yep,
And that's enough room that you're not on their property when you're driving through
Nope.
there.
yeah, it's a wide enough driveway. I fit my truck through it.
I understand.
Yep.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you, sir. Stand by, we have public comment opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Now we'll open up to public comment. If there's someone from the audience that would like to comment on this case, this is your opportunity. Please go to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Ricky Powell, Powell. I own the property that's just north of where the proposed building is going to go.
Okay.
I've been there for 25 years. I own that, and
Sir, can you make sure you use the microphone? Thank you.
thank you. It's kind of hard for me to see there because I didn't bring my glasses. Okay, that duplex, and you have a picture of the garage that's next to my property.
Okay.
I'm concerned, is that alley going to be used for access? They can drive between the property, but the alley is where I pull in and go into the garage. That's my major concern. And will it impact my residents that are there now? And just to let you know, one has been there for 14 years. Will it impact her when she goes in and out of her garage? That's really about it.
We have a question from Commissioner Joe Johnson.
Are you north of the alley?
Yes,
Okay,
here.
yeah, there you go.
And the alley is here, and I believe they're gonna put it there.
Okay.
So yeah, drive in. It's a two-car garage, as you can see, one for each apartment there.
I think staff has a comment here. Mr. Wadle?
Yeah, if I could, sir. What I'd like to offer is that, yes, it's a public alley between the properties, so they will not be able to block that alley in any way. The other thing you should be aware of is that there are setbacks that are required for the building from the alley. So there will be a distance away from the edge of the alley that they will have to build their structure. So in response to your question about will any of the development impact the ability of people renting your property to be able to access that garage, the existing garage? No, there should not. And so the setbacks and also the fact that it's a public alley should protect that access for them.
Okay.
I believe we have another question for Mr. Powell from Commissioner Williams Bay.
This question for staff, is that alley paved all the way through? The pavement stops at the end of my garage there, here. Originally, the alley went clear through, but the people here put up a fence so you can't go through it, just like the people here, you can't go through it.
We have a vacation, probably. Mr. Wadle, is that a vacation?
It does not, we do not have a record of a vacation at that site. So if you would like to file a formal complaint, we can certainly take that into consideration. It looks like someone may have closed off a public alley in this case.
Yes.
Interesting. Oopsie. But did your question get answered, Mr. Williams Bay?
Yeah, that was why I was asking the question.
Yep. Mr. Aldrich?
You said the applicant said that there was a driveway access between the two houses or the two properties. That's not an alley, that's a private drive. Okay, thank you.
So, yeah, that's not for Mr.
Here.
Powell. That's for the applicant.
Yes, that's their private drive.
Yep, okay. Mr. Powell, thank you. Appreciate you coming down. Hopefully
Thank
got
you
your
very
questions
much.
answered. We'll now ask the applicant to come back for rebuttal if you wish to. You'll have up to 2 minutes. If you don't, that's fine too, but it's up to you. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Any other public speakers? No more public comment, rebuttal opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Warren.
Okay, I understand his concerns completely. I've met your tenants before. I've talked to them plenty. I'm an open book. You can call me anytime and we can resolve issues with parking. That's no big deal. But like they said, I can't by any right take up that alley. And it'll actually clean up our parking better than what it is right now to make it more usable. So I think in the end, you'll enjoy it better. It'll be nicer for your property and for ours and keep the traffic flow better than probably what it is now. I know my tenants are already using that. And so if your tenants haven't voiced any concerns, then I always tell my tenants, work it out between yourselves, you're adults. You can handle parking and anything you have concerns with, I'm open to any one-on-one talks.
All right. Any questions for our speaker? Seeing none, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We'll close the public comment and bring it back to the commission for discussion and action. We have a motion to approve by Commissioner Miles with a second by Commissioner Zimmelman. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Item 4.6 is Zone 2025-61. It is a zone change request in the city from single-family SF5 to LC and GO. It is one property. The boundaries you see on here are based on legal descriptions we got for proposed LC zoning in this section and proposed GO zoning for the remainder of the rear section. The entire property is 13.414 acres in size. It's located on the east side of North Meridian, about a quarter mile south of West 53rd Street. It directly abuts West 51st Street north. The applicant is requesting this zone change to have 5.94 acres of LC zoning and 5.82 acres in GO zoning along the rear. It is currently not used, probably used for agriculture at this time. The applicant is looking to rezone the district to have development options in the future. Our understanding that the rear portion of the property is to be utilized as a church, and then possible commercial development would be intended for the LC, but we'll let the applicant and agent elaborate on those points. The SF5 district is pretty restrictive, as you guys know, allows for single-family use as well as a limited number of public and civic uses. LC allows for all residential types, including multifamily housing, in addition to a variety of civic, public, and commercial uses. GO is a little less intensive than LC, allows all residential types, but the commercial uses are typically limited to office, medical services, hotel, motel, things of that nature, medical use. There's a table in your staff report that is standard that discusses and shows the differences in terms of development standards. ASSOL standard restrictions are the compatibility setback and height requirements. Those would apply along the north, east, and south property lines, looking like at least 25-foot compatibility setbacks and height setbacks limited to 35 feet, possibly allowed for a little bit higher as you get towards the middle, depending on how far away you get from properties, but nothing anywhere near what would be allowed in GO or LC by right. So compatibility, height, and setback standards apply. There's requirements for dumpsters being located at least 20 feet away from property lines, zone TF3 or more restrictive, so that also applies along those same property lines. Screening and landscaping standards are in place. 6 to 8 foot screening fence along these two property lines on the east and the south. And then depending on how the property develops, likely a landscaped street yard with parking lot screening along West 51st Street, because 51st Street is a local street with residential zoning on the north side of it. And then you would have landscape buffers, 1 tree per 40 linear feet along the east and the south. Lighting and parking. Parking would be based on uses that are established, and so they would have to be able to park those uses on the site. So there's some limiting factors there based on the size of them, depending on what they're looking to utilize them for. Lighting requires no light poles to be taller than 15 feet within 200 feet of residential zoning. I think that covers pretty much the entire site based on the amount of single-family zoning that is nearby. Character of the neighborhood is generally residential on the east side of Meridian and much more commercial on the west side of Meridian. As you can see with the zoning map in front of us, everything in white is single family. There is the pocket of commercial zoning just to the south. We recently heard this case not too long ago for conditional use for an event center at this location. Of course, when you get closer to the arterial intersection, you have commercial zoning, and then you have a significant amount of commercial zoning that is mostly undeveloped across the street from them on the west side of Meridian. Most of the commercial development on the west side is closer to the intersection of 53rd Street. The subject site is unplatted. Platting would be required prior to any development that is proposed by this application. There was a plat that was submitted in 2010, but it was never perfected, and so a new plat would have to submit it at this time. Public and civic services. North Meridian is a 4-lane arterial street, with a sidewalk on the east side. West 51st Street North is a 2-lane paved local street with no sidewalks. It has access to municipal services like water and sewer. They would likely have to be extended inward into the site in order to serve the proposed uses. Wichita Transit does not serve this location. The request is in partial conformance with the community investments plan. If you want to go to land use map, please. The land use map identifies it for new residential, and that is described as encompassing areas of land that are likely to be developed or redeveloped by 2035, with predominantly found in the residential category. It does say that pockets of institutional and commercial uses likely will be developed in this area as well, based on market-driven locational factors. In certain areas, especially in proximity to industrial uses, highways and rail lines, the airport's pockets of industrial uses could be developed as well. Rezoning the subject site to LC and GO could be appropriate request considering the proximity to other commercially zoned properties. However, without knowing the intensity of the uses and the specific types of uses they're looking for, especially in the LC district, our concern as staff was the fact that 51st Street is a local street and that you have single-family uses directly abutting it and they are facing towards it, so their driveways are off of 51st Street. And so we feel like the extent of limited commercial that they were asking for was the deterring factor in terms of our recommendation. When it came to recommending B zoning as opposed to GO zoning, the difference we had was it's calling for new residential. Yes, there's a caveat in there about pockets of commercial based on market-driven factors. However, based on the depth away from Meridian on a local street, we felt that wasn't really advertising for a commercial type of use from our perspective, that a residential use would be more appropriate based on the new residential category of the zoning code or of the comprehensive plan. Had it been the crosshatch here, which was new residential employment mix, that could have been a different story from our perspective. Locational guidelines provide a framework for decision-making. Land use compatibility suggests high-intensity development should be discouraged from locating in areas of existing lower-intensity development, particularly established low-density residential areas, which is what the neighborhood is to the north and the east. Development pattern guidelines states low-density residential uses should be buffered from commercial and industrial areas by open space, water bodies, change in topography, or major barriers such as arterial streets or highways. With staff knowing the possible uses on the site, staff determined that the possibility of higher intensity development occurring adjacent to single-family uses could be detrimental to those single-family homes. Again, a major barrier being an arterial street, not a local street. So the fact that they're only separated by a local street was the determining factor. The staff recommendation is to deny the LC and GO. However, we are recommending approvals an alternate, which is still limited commercial and about 400 feet of it. So it's about a pad site, which would likely orient the use onto Meridian. You have an arterial street there, so some level of commercial on the arterial we felt was appropriate. And then we had a balance of B zoning for the remainder of the site. In addition to that, we also have a protective overlay that would cover the entire site. That's protective overlay 469. Item number 1 covers use restrictions within the limited commercial zoned area. So essentially, if limited commercial zoning would be appropriate in this area to a larger extent, we still recommend you consider the protective overlay because it has some use restrictions that we feel would be appropriate in this area in a small extent of LC and especially in a larger extent of LC zoning as well. Signage would be per the Wichita Sign Code, except signs would be monument style, limited to 12 feet in height. We got a lot of this information from the PO that's on the limited commercial zone property directly to the south. So we're kind of, if that was deemed appropriate for a property that's on Meridian, we felt that kind of extending those restrictions to this property just adjacent to the north would be appropriate as well. Outdoor lighting sources have to be cut off luminaries. That's per the code. The site shall have similar consistent parking lot lighting elements. And height of the light poles would be limited to 15 feet within 200. Again, that's per the code. Rooftop mechanical equipment shall be screened. Trash receptacles, loading docks, outdoor storage, and all loading areas shall be appropriately screened with similar materials of the building to reasonably hide them from ground level view. A site plan shall be submitted and approved by the planning director prior to the issuance of building permits. And prior to the publish of ordinance established by the zone change, the applicant shall record a document with the registry of deeds indicating that this includes special conditions of development of the property. That's essentially to safeguard that if the property is sold, then in title work, that certificate would come up. We do a similar thing with PUDs and CUPs. This is based on the golden factors that are listed in your staff report. My understanding is that we have not heard from the public on this one. We have not heard public comment regarding this application. This application was considered by the District Advisory Board for District 6 on Tuesday. My understanding is that they recommended approval of limited commercial to the extent that the applicant has requested. So this larger box here on the screen, District 6 was okay with that, subject to the PO that staff is recommending. So the applicant's extent of limited commercial with the staff recommended PO. And then the remainder of the property, they actually essentially are denying the remainder of the property to have it stay as single family residential. So that was the DAB recommendation. Did I get that right, Brad? Cool. And the agent can elaborate on those as well. I was not the one who was in attendance. So with that, I can go through site pictures. This is looking east into the site from Meridian. This is looking south towards the site from 51st Street. Next, this is looking south towards the rear part of the site. Next picture. This is looking west through the site towards Meridian. This is 51st Street here with the houses that are located along it. Next picture. This is looking north away from the site. Meridian is here, 51st Street with the houses along 51st. Next picture. This is looking north away from the site as well, farther down 51st Street. Next picture. And this is looking east, kind of through the site and away from the site towards the single family homes that are farther down 51st Street. Next picture. This is looking kind of southwest away from this site. This is Meridian in front. I believe this is the new Mormon temple and geo zoning down Meridian. Next picture. And this is looking directly west away from the site. The property across the street is commercially zoned with the CUP. It is just mostly undeveloped. I believe this is a city maintenance facility or something of that. Next picture. And I can stand for any questions.
Philip, I just want to make sure I understand the DAB's recommendation last night. It was they approved the LC to the extent requested by the applicant, but remain SF5 in the GO request.
That is my understanding, okay. Correct. And this LC came with the protective overlay language that's in the staff report.
Gotcha, thank you. All right, Commissioner Aldrich.
Yeah, Phil, some of my concerns that I have is that especially when you're looking at doing a 400-foot setback off of Meridian, that's gonna really knock into that property and limit the space that the applicant can develop on there. When you look around, the whole area, that we have around there, there's, right across the street, you mentioned the Mormon, temple. You have the lift station directly across the street from that, with no screening at all that's required around there. The whole area is in the process of being, developed, commercially, or in that process up over there. Just up the road, a little bit there, about a half mile right in there, that property is up for sale, across the street. You've got the O'Reillys right there. They're not set back 400. You got, the Brahms and the Taco Bell but the property across the street it's vacant now. And it's got a house, an old manufacturer, building on there, and also I think a mobile home buried in there somewhere. But that's gonna be in the process of, probably gonna be a LC at one point. If you look at just south of the property, you have the old, I call it the bouncy house, right there. And that was single family for a while, but that was, rezoned. And just south of that, you have a drainage ditch that is pretty wide. So that's a nice buffer right there. You got a tremendous buffer of growth, pretty dense right now with trees, between the bouncy house and this property now. And it's, pretty intense. I don't think it's gonna ever be cut down there for a while. But my concerns is that, denying the applicant's request on this, it's really gonna hurt what their, potential land use is, on there. And, the applicant has spent millions and millions of dollars developing that whole area, up there. So I think that should have a little bit of weight there also.
Yes, thank you for your comments. I want to clarify something about the 400 feet. Staff wasn't saying a 400-foot setback off of Meridian. The staff recommendation was that the first 400 feet was what we were okay with LC. So we were saying that this area here was okay for LC, and we're recommending that that be LC, and the remainder of the property be zoned less. So it wasn't a 400-foot setback that no buildings or anything could be built, because in our opinion, if you're going to have a commercial, it should be closer to Meridian, not farther away. So I just want to make sure that that was a clarification,
Yeah,
that
I
it's not a
appreciate the
setback, but
clarification.
yep.
Any other comments or questions from the commission? Seeing none. Thank you, Philip. Well done. We'll now ask the applicant and/or agent to come forward to give us your name and address for the record and your role in the project.
Good afternoon, Phil Meyer with Boffman Company, agent for the applicant, address 315 Ellis here in Wichita. With me here today is Brad Bachman, the developer. I also have Todd Carter, who is a pastor with Pathway Church with me. I'll kind of explain how Pathways Church has a contract to purchase what we're proposing for the GO. So the GO is going to be a church back here, and he's here to answer any questions you may have about what Pathway Church is proposing to do there. Before I get started too far, Brad, were you able to, did the planning commissioners get the, okay. This is a little explanation that Mr. Bachman put together. And for the record, and I'm doing this as a compliment to him, I did not ghostwrite this. I did not edit this. I made no revisions. Those are his words, and I read that this morning and thought he did a fantastic job of summarizing his approach to that. So we'd like all the planning commissioners to take a look at that. So we have asked for LC on this portion here. We have asked for GO on this portion here. When I asked for that GO, in my mind, I never really felt that was going to be an issue. I was using that as a buffer to the single family that exists to the east of that. I never thought about staff maybe having a problem with that. And I say that because I never told them that there's a contract purchase on the GO for a church facility. And I went to GO for them so that they could have a daycare facility inside that church if they want to, which is, and I'll get into what DAB did, but that's why we came up with that zoning district. Another benefit that GO did for us is we no longer had a screening requirement between our LC commercial and that church facility. So the way DAB approved this, I'm gonna have to put a screening fence along the east line of the LC. And as you drive down the Meridian and look back, we're gonna screen the church. The church wants to be seen. So it gave us a chance to do a daycare facility, eliminated a screening requirement. We would like you and are going to ask you today to approve this zone change the way we filed it. We did defer this from your first planning commission meeting in January so that we could discuss this with staff. Staff did a great job of presenting their case and why they wanted the B zoning. I thought we did a decent job of presenting our case of why we want it and needed to GO. At the end of those conversations, we decided we were going to let the planning commission decide how we could do that. There wasn't really a compromise that either side was really willing to do. The B zoning, there's a place in this town for B zoning, and B zoning serves a purpose. This isn't the location that we want B zoning. If you look up big picture wise, B zoning is intended for very high density multifamily residential. And that's not what we want to do at this location. If Pathways Church didn't go on that, we still wouldn't want the B zoning or the multifamily there. That's not what Mr. Bachman wants to do with this. So for over 50 years, the Bachman family has worked on this corridor. And I call this Meridian corridor from 235 up to 53rd Street, their corridor. They've been developing it for 30 years. Brad's been involved with, for 50 years. Brad's been involved with it for over 30 years himself. They got another 30 years left. If you look at the ground they own down along 235, each side of the road, the ground they own up along 53rd and Meridian, they are very invested in this. This is not an LC piece of property that they're going to flip and sell to the first person that wants to buy it at an economical price. Brad wants to make sure there's a quality development that occurs on that. We don't have a use for the LC today. We would love to put 2 nice quality restaurants on that LC surrounded by parking. Part of the agreement that Pathway Church and Brad have come to, and they've been working on this for months. If we have overflow parking on our commercial side, or when our commercial develops, Pathways Church will be able to use that parking lot and flow over to that parking lot during their peak season when they have some parking issues going on. Brad has agreed to limitations that can happen in the limited commercial zoning on his property as a private agreement with them so it doesn't conflict with their church. So we've eliminated uses that we could put on the LC by the zoning district. The church would prefer them not to be there. Brad's good with removing those from that. If I could, can I have, on the slideshow, can we go back to page 8, which is the future growth map? A couple of things I guess I want to point out to the Planning Commission as you're discerning, is our LC and GO appropriate or not? So, this is from the Community Investment Plan, and I'm going to point out to Planning Commission, this area here is residential mixed employment mix. And you notice how it barely sweeps past or south of 53rd Street. Now, if we can go to page 7, which is the existing zoning map, I want to point out to you that was sweeping into this area. I mean, we've already got LC non-residential zoning south of our proposed site, along with more non-residential zoning further down Meridian. So this is the situation, the Community Investment Plan is the guide, and maybe it's missed. That map's missed its mark. here. And you ask why? And I'm going to tell you 53rd and Meridian and 235 and Meridian is the next area in Wichita that's just going to take off. Meridian is a link between Valley Center and the city of Wichita, and they're growing together. 53rd Street is one of the few roads in Sedgwick County that you can drive from the east line of the county to the west line of the county and drive all the way through there. It links Mays all the way over to Bel Air and all the communities in between. Over the last 10, 15 years, there's a lot of commercial that's happened here. Over the next 15 years, it's really going to take off. And there is opportunity to do some nice commercial development down here at this location. I think the protective overlay is acceptable to us. I've got one issue or one thing I need to request. I missed this at DAB, so I did not do this at the District Advisory Board. Surprise to staff today, which was not intended, but their number 2 in the protective overlay limits the size of the sign to 12 feet. I would like to see if we can increase the height of that. I'm going to suggest 15 foot. But one of the agreements that the church and Brad have is when we go through the plating process is that if this is approved, we're going to go plat 2 lots up here. One for the LC, one for the GO. I need to get a reserve up here in the corner for a sign for Pathway Church. That may be a multi-tenant sign, that may be Pathway Church, but that particular sign needs to be 15 foot high. So if you approve our LC today with the protective overlay, I'm going to ask that you increase the size, the height of the monument sign to be 15 foot. And with that, I'm going to, well, let's talk about what DAB's motion did. And it was interesting to listen to DAB and to watch them go through their process. And the gentleman that made the motion goes, well, I guess I'm just not going to make either side happy. And the motion was to approve the LC as filed with the protective overlay and to leave the church property GO, to leave it SF5. And if they want to do a daycare facility at a later date, they can go file the conditional use permit to do that. Okay, I mean, we can live with that. Would talk to you about, you could even do a daycare facility in B, so we can talk about that. We prefer to have the GO. We don't want the screening. The biggest thing that they did to us, and we discussed when we got out in the hallway afterwards, is now we got to put a 6-foot wood fence along here and along here. And what the church wants is when you drive along here and you look back, you see the church back there. So we would like the GO zoning. We're already zoning. Why make us file another case and bring it back later? If we want to do a daycare facility at that time, we're here. We're showing our cards. We're telling you what we're doing. With that, I will stop and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Philip. To that end, as it relates to the GO commercial uses, are there any of those that the client would be willing to remove as part of getting GO zoning? Because I'm thinking, hotel or motel, I don't think the neighborhood would probably appreciate that right next to them.
Yeah, if the planning commission felt like we needed to eliminate some uses out of the GO with the protective overlay, I think we'd be open to that discussion.
Okay. So I heard you mention daycare. Your client?
Preschool, daycare, in the eyes of the zoning code, a preschool is a daycare facility. So a preschool or daycare require a zoning action to be able to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Hospital's the other one you can throw out if you're thinking quickly. What's allowed in GO? But yeah, we don't need a hospital either.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Commissioner Williams-Bay.
Phil, it's my understanding that the church is going first, right? That's the first portion?
I'm 85% comfortable saying that. I mean, we don't have a buyer on the LC. If a restaurant showed up and wanted to buy it, could the two go at the same time? Yes. I think you're going to see the church built before anything's built on the LC.
I mean, on the GO, the portion that you want GO, the church is what you're planning
Yeah.
first, not the daycare, the church first.
Well, the daycare, if there's a daycare, it's
church.
inside the church. It's just part of the function. So
Okay.
there's, one, we asked for the LC for that reason, and two, it got rid of our screening fence. So,
You asked for the GO.
or GEO. Pathways Church is, so they have two campuses now. They have their main campus on Maze Road, south of 21st. That is a large facility. Other facilities they're doing are smaller, satellite, and they have one in Goddard at 183rd and Kellogg. This one is going to be more similar to what they have in Goddard, and it will be a much smaller church than what you're seeing on Maze Road, and that's their intent. They're going to start doing satellite churches.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you, Phil.
Good presentation.
Now we open up for public comment. If there's someone from the public that would like to comment on this case, this is your opportunity. Yes, sir. Please give us your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes.
Jack Patton, address 337 South Rutan, Wichita, Kansas. I don't live in the neighborhood, but my daughter owns a home there in Timber Creek or Timber Lake, whatever it is, and some property around there, and she's heard about it. Her concern was doing something that looks cheap in the neighborhood, and but her not being totally against it. It's far away from her house that even if it is, it doesn't bother her. But there is a concern that, it's a nice neighborhood, nice homes, nice quiet, and they're far enough from 53rd Street to not affect them, but anything starts getting closer, she's a little concerned about it. That's it. I have to hear about it because she's my daughter.
Got it. Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, thank you. Anyone else? Next speaker? Last call? Anyone else? All right. Phil, I am going to ask you to come back, not necessarily for rebuttal, but I have a follow-up question. I should have asked it earlier.
Yes, sir.
As it relates to staff recommending for denial, they did have a substitute approval with conditions. Were you okay with items 1 and 3, meaning the LC zoning at a depth of 400 feet and the protective overlay to the property zoning? I understand your concern about item 2, but was the 1 and 3 agreeable?
3 is agreeable. 1, we would like you to approve it as we filed it.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if this will help planning commission. 400 feet is about right here.
Where you at?
630 feet of commercial zoning to the south of us. That's about 630, 625. This is 820, 830 to that line. So 400 foot's about half.
Okay. Thank you. Any other follow-up questions for the applicant? Mr. Commissioner High.
Can you please use your mic?
Yeah,
Mr. High, can
we
you
need to
please
use your mic.
Sorry, for the other pathway churches and satellites, tell us how the aesthetics are for that in the area. As far as the look and feel for the site, it's.
Well, their main campus is a lot of open space to that. Their satellite campus is on the northwest corner of 183rd and Kellogg and Goddard. It's not right on the corner. It's as far west in that commercial development that it could go. And there wasn't it doesn't have nearly the open space. This one's going to have more open space to it than that one, but not as much as their main campus.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll return to the commission for discussion and action. Question for staff. because of the DABS motion with the GO, or the no GO, but the SF5, there would still be a fence, correct? And so the applicant could come back and ask for a conditional use request for the daycare use and also the removal of the fence, the screening.
The screening would have to be a variance, so there would
Variance,
be a
that's correct.
conditional use for the daycare, but then there would have to be a variance for the fence.
So, okay. Thank you. Commissioner Aldrich.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve per the applicant's request, LC zoning and GO zoning, including the protective overlay with modification to item number 2 from the 12-foot height to a 15-foot height.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Aldrich with a second by Commissioner Zimbelman, correct? Or Commissioner Hyde, thank you. Yeah, you were both right in that area. I know it wasn't the voice in between you two. Seeing no further discussion, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next item. And so I have a question regarding the next item before we proceed. I understand the applicant has not arrived. Is that correct?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Mr. Wadle?
If I may, sir, what I would offer is in the past, we've received legal counsel that if you hear the case and then if there was a vote to deny, or if any questions came up and the applicant was not available to have a chance to answer or rebut anything, it could create issues. But another thing that has been done in the past is if there are members of the public who are in attendance for this item, give them an opportunity to speak, put it on the record, and then you would have the option to defer it at a later date if you wish.
Is that person still here? Do you understand what's happening? Yes. Okay. So what is the will? Legal, what is your best recommendation?
Let's see, the options, again, like Scott said, we could hear the presentation and then hear from the public and defer it, pick a date and let the public know and defer it 2 weeks, or we could do the whole vote, and if it comes back that it's denied or there are questions for the applicant who's obviously not here, we could defer it or just deny it.
I think most of the time in the past, we just deferred it.
Yeah, I hate for the public speaker to have to come back. But without the applicant here to be able to answer any questions or present their case, we're kind of in a tough spot. And I know we've tried to reach out to them, and they knew today is the date. But because of that, I'm going to motion that we defer to our next MAPC meeting. And again, I apologize, sir, but this is the best way for you and for us and the applicant.
So the next planning commission meeting is Thursday, February 12th, in 2 weeks. 1:30, same location.
So the
1:30 p.m., same location, yep. Oh, I'm sorry.
February 5th.
I'm thinking January should be over by now.
Yeah, no, so January.
Can tell how much. I'm sorry, sir, it's January 29th, thanks, Scott.
Okay, so the motion is to defer to January 29th. Did I have a second? We have a second by Commissioner McKay. Now I open it for comment, recognizing Commissioner Duell.
I just want to make sure that the gentleman that came here to speak on this knows that he has the option of submitting something to us in writing and even to have that read here in case he couldn't.
True,
come
yeah,
back.
in case you can't come back, you can still submit it and it's going to be reviewed and so forth. So Commissioner Warren.
Can we manipulate things that they would be first on the agenda when we come back so that the?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that for sure. Great suggestion, thank you. Okay, so motion has been properly made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion passes unanimously. Next item, please. Sorry, Christina.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and Planning Commission. Justin Constantino with the Planning Department here to talk about event centers in the county. Next slide, please. So the recommendation today comes from the Advanced Plans Committee. The recommendation is to approve the proposed amendments to the Unified Zoning Code and Comprehensive Plan regarding changes to event centers in the county land use and recommend adoption by both the City Council and the Board of County Commissioners. Next slide, please. The purpose of my presentation today is to provide you some background information on the subject of event centers in the county, answer any questions that you may have, and then your role will be to make a recommendation to both the City Council and the Board of County Commissioners. Next slide, please. I'll briefly discuss the process, kind of how we got here today, talk about how the issue was initiated, and then I will go through those proposed Unified Zoning Code text updates individually. Next slide, please. A little bit about the process. Next slide, please. So we are at the MAPC meeting. This item was last heard by the Advanced Plans Committee on December 4th, where it was recommended that MAPC approve this item by a vote of 3-1. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on the topic of event centers in the county itself. Next slide, please. So the last time we made changes to the Unified Zoning Code regarding event centers in the county was in 2016. Event centers in the county were allowed by right if they were greater than 20 acres. Less than 20 acres required a conditional use. Since the 2016 changes to the UZC, we've had multiple complaints regarding event centers in the county. Typical concerns included noise, trash, signage, traffic, and dust being kicked up from these events. And that was what started the initiation process. The Board of County Commissioners tasked staff with finding a solution to these issues. We did discuss this back in October of 23 with the BOCC at a staff meeting, and then again in December of 23 at another staff meeting. Next slide, please. We have had several meetings going back and forth on this item a little bit just to make sure that we got that language the way that it would be successful. There were several check-ins at the BOCC throughout 2024. It went to the Advanced Plans Committee a couple different times where we presented draft language to them. October and November, the item was deferred. And then again in late December 2024, it was deferred until June 2025. Next slide, please. At that June 2025 meeting, it was deferred until August. We had a great opportunity to discuss kind of where the project stood with the BOCC at a staff meeting in August 2025, and then brought back some feedback to the Advanced Plans Committee on November in 2025. And then again, we had a really nice meeting on November at the BOCC staff meeting that included staff members, that included committee members of the Advanced Plans Committee. Next slide, please. Feedback from the Board of County Commissioners on that November 18th meeting included focus on noise enforcement and setbacks. There was general consensus from the Board of County Commissioners to not really measure or limit or enforce the noise component to this language. There was interest in using setbacks from residential dwellings to mitigate that noise. So again, noise was a big topic of conversation, but utilizing those residential setbacks to mitigate that was the prescription there. And then there was an emphasis on making sure not to overregulate with the language that we are presenting today. Next slide, please. So just to define event centers in the county, event centers in the county are premises that are frequently rented out for public or private activities that are not repeated on a weekly basis and that are not open to the public on a daily basis at times other than when the event is scheduled. Next slide, please. So these are our existing regulations. Event centers in the county are permitted in the LC, GC, LI, and GI zoning districts. They are permitted in the rural residential zoning district if the property is greater or equal to 20 acres. And if they are in compliance with the applicable conditions listed in the zoning code. And if the property is in the RR, rural residential zoning district, is less than 20 acres, a conditional use permit is required. Next slide, please. Staying on the existing regulations, we do have text in the Unified Zoning Code regarding parking and lighting. Next slide, please. There's also existing language regarding setbacks. Event centers must be set back 100 feet from the property line, and there is currently no noise limitations in the Unified Zoning Code regarding the land use. Next slide, please. Here's what it looks like in the Unified Zoning Code. You can see the definition there highlighted in yellow. It is permitted by right on sites 20 acres or greater. Next slide, please. Other communities. Next slide, please. So we did some research on best practices in other counties. Staff looked at 10 other counties in Kansas, and that state of the practice report is in your packet for this item. Next slide, please. Of those 10 counties that we researched, 6 of them were counties that had no regulations in place regarding event centers. They evaluated those cases on a case-by-case basis. Another 2 counties were actively working towards having specific regulations adopted for event centers, while the other 2 did have specific regulations in place. Next slide, please. We also looked at an American Planning Association document for typical concerns that you see, and these concerns mirror the reports that we were hearing from the Board of County Commissioners with concerns regarding traffic, drunk driving, later hours, lights, and noise. Next slide, please. Getting into the recommended changes, this will be what the text updates are recommending. Next slide. So when we started this process, I mentioned before that there are both changes today to both the Unified Zoning Code and the Comprehensive Plan. I'll go through those individually. When we started this process, there was some discussion about whether or not we should create a permitting process, but for the sake of our discussion this afternoon, I'll focus on the Unified Zoning Code and the Comprehensive Plan. Next slide, please. These are the recommended changes that you have at your desk. Next slide. So the process would be a conditional use for property zoned RR, rural residential, and then by right in the LC, GC, LI, and GI zoning districts. Next slide. Screening would generally not be required unless determined by the MAPC or the governing body, and a site plan would be required by the applicant for by right and conditional use applications. Next slide, please. Hours of operation would be 9 o'clock a.m. to 12 o'clock a.m. daily. And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of discussion about noise, noise enforcement, no enforcement of noise amplification would be included in this language. Next slide, please. Maximum number of guests, that is capped at 299 maximum occupancy. Next slide, please.
Hey,
And
Jason.
then,
I'm sorry, could you
yeah, let me
be
go ahead
clear
and,
on that?
yeah, no, let me go ahead and go back to the previous slide. That was language that was included. We actually ended up removing that language. So there was a 299 maximum occupancy limit that was removed from the previous draft.
But for any buildings, there would still be fire code?
Exactly right. Those buildings would be subject to both fire code and building code.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide. The minimum property size would be 20 acres, not necessarily all one parcel. Next slide, please. And the setbacks would be based on the distance to the property line. That would be 200 feet. And then we mentioned the Board of County Commissioners preference as well, which would be distance to the existing residential unit. So we have 600 feet for that. Next slide, please. Here's kind of a highlight of all the changes that we've made. I just kind of went through those item by item, but I wanted to go ahead and put it up on the screen that this is a good summary of the changes that you have in that draft document in front of you. Next slide, please. Here is a good image of what existing regulations are. The property size depicted on the screen here is 20 acres. Building and activity areas other than the driveway shall be set back 100 feet from the property lines. That's how it currently is in the code. Next slide. And this is what we are proposing. Same property, 20 acres. The setbacks would be 200 feet from that property line. You could see those, that 200-foot distance measured from all sides of the property. And then that 600-foot distance is an example of what it would look like from a nearest residence if there was a residence just a few properties to the west there. Next slide, please. The changes to the comprehensive plan are included in this as well. There is language that we added to the locational guidelines of the comprehensive plan that says that rural event centers for public or private activities are discouraged near residential subdivisions and or sensitive land uses. There should be restrictions that mitigate the nuisance of hazard impacts on surrounding properties. Again, all those items that we highlighted earlier. Next slide, please. And again, the recommended action comes from the Advanced Plans Committee to approve the proposed amendments to the UZC and comprehensive plan and recommend adoption by the City Council and Board of County Commissioners. That includes my portion of the presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
As always, thank you, Justin. Nice presentation. It's not lost on me that we probably could have built a few event centers in the county in the time it's taken us to get to this. So that being said, are there any questions for Justin? Commissioner Miles.
So Justin, just so I'm clear. So
I think your mic is not working.
under the new guidelines, let me push harder. Under the new guidelines, previously, if there was 20 acres on rural residential, if there was 20 acres or more, they could have an event center by right. Now there won't be, that's no longer allowed by right.
That's correct, yes.
So it is more restrictive then, because in the city, isn't it 5 acres or more that it's allowed by right?
I don't believe it's 5 acres in the city.
I don't believe
What
that
is
there
it?
is a minimum acreage in the city for an event center. So an event center in the city has a different distance regulation, and it's based off of in certain zoning districts, it would be required to have a conditional use if it's it's either 200 or 300 feet of residential zoning, a public park or church or place of worship or a school. So they're just treated very differently between the city and the county. You don't have to have a
Okay,
minimum acreage.
so it's not allowed on rural residential by right when we approve this. There won't be any by right on rural residential for an event center in the county.
I believe, yeah,
That is
that's correct.
That is correct. And what it's meant to address is not so much in 2025, but in the years prior to that we'd seen multiple cases where folks had come in rural residential, and it was actually a rural subdivision where they essentially were taking one of the properties in the subdivision and wanted to start an event center there. So the issue, the conflict of having an event center in the middle of a subdivision was the issue that I think we're really trying to address here, is that there's quite a few properties out there zoned rural residential that are smaller than 20 acres where it really wasn't compatible. And so by addressing that by saying a minimum size, in this case 20 acres is what people landed at as being appropriate. There was discussion about going up to 40 acres through part of this process.
Okay, so it's not allowed by right at all. What we're moving to is it's not, and was it 5 acres in the county previously? I'm trying to follow because
It was 20 acres in the county previously. It was allowed by right in rural residential.
okay, and we're doing away with that altogether.
That is correct. That would make it a conditional use in rural residential, and that you have to have a minimum of 20 acres.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll open it up for public comment. Is there anyone from the public that would like to comment on this presentation? Seeing, yes. Man, you almost got gonged.
Good afternoon, Kelly Dixon, 2016 East 50th Street South, Wichita, Kansas. Addressing Commissioner Miles' question. So in the past, you could go down to 5 acres in the county with a conditional use. From an enforcement standpoint, from my 23 years of enforcing this, having the 20 acres and above go through the conditional use process is a good plan. Because there's a lot of cases out there where even with a 20-acre tract, it's not necessarily gonna fit the neighborhood. So it does give neighbors the opportunity to come in and voice that opinion. So,
But you're implying that for 20 acres or less, and I don't disagree. What I disagree with is that there's no by right if there's more than 20 acres.
correct. And
That's
I
what
still
that's
think
what
that, and I think that's a
disagree
good
with.
idea, not having that by right.
Yeah, I disagree. Thank you.
Fair enough. Just want to throw that out there.
Thank you, Kelly. Any questions for the speaker? Seeing none, any more public comment? Seeing none, we'll bring it back to the body for consideration and action. And Mr. Aldrich, since you're the Chair of Advanced Plans, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, I would like to make a motion that we approve and we adopt and we send it to the proper governance.
We have a motion to approve per staff, or by the Advanced Plans recommendations, and second by Commissioner Mader. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay, and also let the record reflect that Commissioner Joe Johnson had left the room.
So just to confirm, I've got 2 nays?
I think just 1 nay.
One. Okay, so Miles,
1 nay.
thank you.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you.
Next item is on the back page of page 4, and it's a non-public hearing item for a special review to determine if an application can be filed less than 1 year after being denied. Christina.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Christina Reith with planning staff here to present DER 2025-00024. And this is a special review to determine if an application can be filed less than 1 year after being denied by the Wichita City Council. So just a bit of a background on this case. Back in September of last year, the MAPC considered PUD 2025-00019, which was a zone change request from manufactured housing to planned unit development to create the Park Village PUD that would have both manufactured house uses and recreational vehicles. And this is generally located on the southeast corner of East Douglas Avenue and South Greenwich Road. The property is currently developed with a manufactured home community. So the MAPC recommended approval of the request 7-5. And then it went to the District Advisory Board, District 2, on October 13th of 2025, and they heard the zone change request and recommended denial 9-0. Prior to the motion, in support of the motion, board members expressed concern that the rezoning would detrimentally affect the stability of nearby properties and mobile home residents on the subject site because of the transient nature of the RV stays and a lack of defined area for where the RVs would stay. So then this went to City Council on November 6th of last year, and they denied the application 7-0. The council member who made the motion expressed concern for the significant change in the character of the neighborhood and with the introduction of the RVs, which included increasing transient uses and again, instability in housing tenure. So last month, the applicant submitted a statement which is attached to your staff report and a new conceptual site plan detailing the changes to this application that they deem significant, for which they would like to file a similar application after 6 months of the original application being denied. A bit of a background on the regulations. This is section 5C11 of the Unified Zoning Code. In the event that the governing body denies an application or the applicant withdraws their application, they cannot be reheard for up to 1 year unless they have this hearing, and then it can be 6 months. So a bit of analysis in general. The Park Village manufactured home park states the following reasons why the proposed refiling is different than the original request. The percentage of which the proposed RV campground would occupy the current community would be reduced from 50% to about 12.8%. And then the area in which the RVs can occupy the subject site would change from 120 feet on all sides to 350 feet from East Waterman, 370 feet from East Douglas, and 940 feet from South Greenwich Road. So since the Planning Commission hearing on September 25th, there have not been significant physical, economic, or land use changes. There have been no significant zoning regulations text changes that have been adopted. However, the previous PUD text said that the RV campground would not exceed 50% of the subject site and would be placed at least 120 feet from all property lines. Staff has determined that the new request is significantly different than the original request for the following reasons. It would introduce an RV campground on the site, but in a smaller capacity, and they would accomplish this by limiting the space and location of the RV campground. So this is a different use because the RVs on site would occupy approximately 25% of the original request. The RV campground would become a subordinate and secondary use on site, and the new proposed setbacks would limit the RV campground visibility from any street. So based on the information provided by the applicant, staff recommends that the request to refile a zone change application less than 1 year after being denied by the MVPC be approved for the reasons listed in your staff report. So if the request receives MAPC approval today, an application cannot be submitted until after March 25th. So let's go to some of the site photos, please.
Hey, Christina, I checked with Mohammed, and I don't believe that we had a PowerPoint for this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we, unless there was an overview of the change in site plan itself. Unless
Believe so.
unless the applicant has it.
Well, the site photos are provided in your staff report along with the statement provided by the applicant.
Right, okay.
Sorry, I say let's go through the site photos. It's kind of something that I usually go through with
Right,
other staff
I
reports.
gotcha.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Christina? Commissioner Aldrich?
Christina, your mic's not working.
Hit your mic.
There you go. Thank you. Christina, staff recommended approval on this the first time that we heard this.
Correct.
And there was also, correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but wasn't there an awful lot of concerns about code violations? There was a lot of residential people that come, the surrounding, that were in opposition of it. Do you know whether or not any of those code issues have been addressed?
So I have not had the opportunity to check with neighborhood enforcement to see if they have received any subsequent violations since the meeting, the MAPC meeting, but I have not heard from the public for this particular site.
Okay, and wasn't the ownership of this park out of state, or were they local?
That's correct,
They were
yes.
out of state?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
So again, what we're being asked is to decide if that has changed significantly enough in order to have a new hearing.
Correct.
Nothing to do with the actual zoning or request today, just whether or not it's changed from the original request enough to warrant a hearing before the, what do we call it, less than a year.
Yes, based on section VC 11 of the Unified Zoning Code.
Thank you. And procedurally, do we normally hear from the applicant in a case like this?
I think we do. And these are kind of few and far in between, but I think
Right.
you do because it's an opportunity for them to make their case about why
Okay,
it should
and
be found.
Same with public comment then.
And generally, we do not take it as a public comment item because it's not a public hearing. So you certainly can. You can
Okay.
opt to open it up to the public, but you don't have to.
Okay. Any other questions for Christina? Thank you, nice job, appreciate it. We'll now ask the applicant and/or agent to come forward if they want to add anything to the request. Please give us your name and address for the record and your role in the case, and you'll have up to 10 minutes.
Good afternoon. My name is Sam Smith. Address is 130 South Greenwich Road, Wichita, Kansas. I am part owner of the community. I wanted to come up here today to first thank you all for the time and effort put in the application, to the staff, Christina, and the commissioners. We really do appreciate it. Secondly, I was brought in late June to help invest and improve the community, and to go a step further, we also hired one of the operators locally who worked at Mobile Manor. To get some clarification for our side, our goal is to lease vacant lots to labor workers who need a place to stay long-term. We don't want people coming in and out because that's going to make families who live there discouraged to stay there, and that's going to hurt our reputation we currently have. And more importantly, for us, we are amendable. It's really important to me and my team that Planning Commission, the city, and the community understand that we're willing to make changes to make sure you're comfortable post-approval it's acceptable in the first place. That's all I had to say. Any questions, happy to answer in the first place, but if not, thank you.
Yeah, real quick, with the reduced capacity from 50% to 12.8, tell me that in terms of number of RV units.
Yeah,
How
so,
many are we talking about versus the original request?
of course.
And I know they're different sizes.
Yeah, no worries. Understood. Initially, it was 50% of 500 lots, and we reduced it down to 69 at most for RV lots. Our concept we want to try first is 20 lots, and then have the ability to improve the 69 if this concept is proven correct.
So how many lots originally?
It was 50% of 500 to 250.
250 to 69?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? So the application change was the percentage of the campground, and then the subject site would change to the area on the Douglas side and the Waterman side, the setbacks.
Correct. I have an arrow I can give you if you prefer to see that. I'm not sure if you have that on your page or not.
So that there could be no RVs would change from 120 feet on all sides to 350 on East Waterman and 370 from East Douglas.
Correct.
Are those the only changes that
Correct.
in the original application?
Correct. That's what's in the staff report, just those two changes.
And again, we're happy to be amendable to add more if we needed to.
And so, any questions? See, Commissioner Williams-Bay?
What are we voting on? We're not voting, go ahead.
We're getting ready to. I just want to make sure there's no more questions for. So the question would be, has there been a significant enough change to the request to warrant a new hearing before the 1 year? Before the 1 year calendar. Commissioner Dool?
Just to be absolutely sure, we're not approving or denying anything today.
Nope. The only thing we're doing is whether or not it justifies a new hearing earlier than what would be normal.
The only other comments, as I recall, there was a lot of negative comments about the upkeep of this area and with the effect on neighbors.
Yep.
And I would think we'd need to see some addressing of that before we agree to let them come back in.
And that's good feedback, and that could certainly be addressed either if we allow the earlier hearing or their normal 1 year hearing. But today, we're just hurrying whether or not we're going to have a earlier than scheduled hearing.
If I may add, if it's okay with you, we have addressed all concerns on site, and we plan to hold a community meeting prior to our resubmission, if granted in the earlier or later.
Okay. Did I see another hand over here on? You're good? Okay. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I think that's it for questions. Is there anyone from the public who would like to comment on this? It's not normal, but I don't see anybody here. So I just want to make sure we're giving fair right. So close the public hearing. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Mr. Mader.
So the question being, is it substantially different? And to me, DAB was 9-0 against it, and City Council was 7-0 against it. And I think that's what the report says. And I think the main opposition was to RVs as temporary uses rather than in the distances. So I don't think it's substantially different. Myself, I think the principal objection is still there, and I would not support it.
Okay. Commissioner Warren.
I'll line up on the other side. I think this is a significant change to what the request was before, so we'll have the opportunity to give it a full vetting out when we do it at that point, but I say give them a chance to come in early. And so I would move that we approve the recommendation.
Okay, we have a motion to approve that the recommendation to bring it back earlier. We have a second by Commissioner Aldrich. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? So, quick show of hands of the nays. I think there was only 3. For the record, Dool, Miles, and Mader. Everyone else is in agreement on the approval. Speak now or forever hold your peace. So you got the numbers, it should be.
Yes, sir. I believe it was 9-3 with Miles, Duel, and Mater as opposed.
All right. Thank you. That is our last item. I would like to remind you that our next meeting is January 29th, which is Kansas Day. So everybody wear your sunflowers or your bisons.
We do have an FYI piece.
We have an FYI piece? Yeah. Oh, do you want to address that, Mr.
Yes,
Waddle?
yes, sir, if
So
I
before
could.
we adjourn, go ahead.
Couple of things to give you a heads up on. One is that this week, the county commission has had a number of discussions. One was at a staff meeting. They did a review of solar. At the end of that, they also discussed data centers in the county. Quite a bit of a good discussion there. And then the next day, so at the commission meeting yesterday, they took an off-agenda item and approved a pause or an interim control to essentially no approvals on any data center cases, whether construction, zoning, et cetera, for 90 days. And during that 90-day period of time, they're looking to the Planning Commission, Planning Department, and others to look at the regulations and whether or not there need to be any changes to regulations regarding data centers in the unincorporated county, and to bring that back to them. So what we've done, what we've been working on is to enter into a contract with the consultants that helped us with the solar regulations. They're from Virginia. They've got quite a bit of experience working with communities that have seen applications from data centers. So we're working with them and working on, first of all, trying to put together perhaps a white paper, kind of a summary of state of the practice, and then to consult with you all to determine if we need to do some changes to the regulations. This came up at MAPC Advanced Plans. Some of the feedback that we've heard from there is the need for coordination between the County Commission and MAPC, specifically at the staff meetings, making sure that we've got members of or inviting members of the MAPC to attend those for some dialogue as well. So just want to make sure that you're aware of that. The other piece to that is that there are a number of folks who are now submitting comments to the planning department with comments on data centers. In some instances, they're requesting that those comments be sent to the planning commissioners. So what we are doing is we're just printing those off, and we'll have them available for you at your table when you arrive for your meetings. And so as we receive those requests, we'll put them there. We don't have an action item on that at this time. Just want to share those with you.
Thank you. And we currently have no pending applications related to a data center.
That is correct. Yep.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder, but
Recording stopped.